Have you ever filled a bowl with water, gently lowered an egg inside, and watched it rise to the surface like it suddenly changed its mind about breakfast? It's a small kitchen moment, almost ordinary, but it feels strangely dramatic. 1 second the egg rests quietly at the bottom. The next it's bobbing at the top, as if signaling something has gone wrong. Most of us have heard the rule: if it floats, it's bad. But why? What exactly is happening inside that fragile shell to make it defy gravity? And is floating always a guarantee that your omelet plans are ruined? Today, we will uncover the quiet science behind this everyday kitchen test, right here, on History of Simple Things. For thousands of years, eggs have been a staple in human diets. In ancient Rome, meals often began with eggs, giving rise to the phrase ab ovo, meaning from the egg. In medieval Europe, eggs were so common they were sometimes used as rent payments. Long before refrigeration, people relied on observation, experience, and simple tests to judge freshness. Submerging eggs in water became one of those practical methods. It required no tools, no special knowledge, just a bowl and a bit of curiosity. Generations passed this trick down, even before anyone understood the detailed biology behind it. To understand why eggs float, we first need to look at what an egg really is. A chicken egg isn't just yolk and whites sloshing around in a shell. It's a carefully structured package. The shell, though it feels solid, is actually porous. It contains thousands of microscopic pores that allow gases to pass through. Beneath the shell are two thin membranes, then the egg white, also called the albumen, and finally the yolk, held roughly in place by twisted strands known as chalazae. At the wider end of the egg, there's a small pocket of air called the air cell. That air cell is the key to the floating mystery. When a hen lays an egg, it's warm, about the same temperature as the hen's body. As the egg cools, its contents contract slightly, pulling away from the shell and creating that small air cell at the blunt end. At this stage, the air cell is tiny. A very fresh egg placed in water will sink and lie flat on its side. That's because its overall density, the amount of mass packed into its volume, is greater than the density of water. Density is what determines whether something sinks or floats. If an object is denser than water, it sinks. If it's less dense, it floats. It's the same reason a rock drops to the bottom of a pond, while a piece of wood drifts on the surface. Over time, eggs naturally lose moisture and carbon dioxide through their porous shells. Even when refrigerated, this process continues slowly. As moisture escapes, more air seeps in to replace the lost volume. The air cell gradually grows larger. The egg's overall mass decreases slightly, but its volume stays about the same. That means its density decreases. Eventually, the egg becomes less dense than water, and when that happens, it floats. So floating isn't caused by some mysterious badness inside the egg. It's a simple matter of physics and time. The bigger the air pocket, the more buoyant the egg becomes. But here's where things get interesting. An egg that stands upright at the bottom of the bowl, tilted with the large end pointing upward, is older, but not necessarily spoiled. It simply has a larger air cell. Many eggs that do this are still perfectly safe to eat, especially if they've been stored properly in the refrigerator at around 4 degrees Celsius, 40 degrees Fahrenheit. Floating, however, where the egg rises completely to the surface, is a stronger sign that it's quite old. In many cases, it's past its prime. But even then, floating alone doesn't automatically mean it's dangerous. It means the egg has aged significantly. Spoilage is a separate issue, and that involves bacteria. The most well-known bacterial concern with eggs is Salmonella enterica, which can sometimes contaminate eggs either before the shell forms or through cracks afterward. When bacteria grow inside an egg, they can produce gases as metabolic byproducts. In rare cases, this gas buildup can contribute to buoyancy. However, under normal storage conditions, the gradual enlargement of the air cell due to moisture loss is the primary reason eggs float, not sudden bacterial gas production. This is why the float test is a useful freshness indicator, but not a perfect safety guarantee. If you're ever unsure about an egg, there's another reliable method. Crack it open and use your senses. A spoiled egg has a distinctly unpleasant sulfur-like odor. It's hard to miss. Even if an egg sinks but smells foul once cracked, it should be discarded immediately. On the other hand, a floating egg that smells neutral and looks normal, clear white, intact yolk, may simply be old, though many people choose not to use it at that point. There's also a noticeable difference in how fresh and older eggs behave when cooked. Fresh eggs have thicker whites that hold their shape better, making them ideal for poaching. Slightly older eggs peel more easily when hard-boiled because the larger air cell creates more separation between the shell and the membrane. Ironically, the very process that eventually makes an egg float can make it more convenient for certain recipes. Refrigeration plays a major role in slowing these changes. In countries like the United States, eggs are washed before sale, which removes a natural protective coating called the bloom. Because of this, they must be refrigerated to reduce bacterial growth and moisture loss. In many parts of Europe, eggs are not washed. The bloom remains intact, and they can often be stored at room temperature for short periods. However, regardless of storage method, time continues to enlarge that air cell. And perhaps that's what makes the floating egg test so satisfying. It feels almost magical, yet it's rooted in simple science. A bowl of water becomes a window into density, evaporation, and gas exchange. The egg doesn't float because it has decided to go bad. It floats because air has replaced moisture, because its internal structure has shifted, because time has left its invisible mark. Thank you for watching. If you have suggestions for our next video, feel free to share them in the comments below. We'll be sure to give you an acknowledgement for your contribution. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the history of simple things. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more stories woven through the smallest details.